Hey, it's Jeff Zito, and thank you for checking out yet another episode of the Celebrity Jobber podcast. We take a look at celebrities and look at what their first job was and maybe their big break. And, you know, if their big break never happened, who knows? Maybe they'd still be at that first job. Maybe not at the first job. I always think that, people's first jobs are pretty interesting. But who knows what would have happened? You can hear all my past guests on celebrityjobber.com. Streaming everywhere, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow on Instagram, celebrityjobber_podcast, youtube.com/celebrityjobber. Okay, Deon Cole, this guy, very funny comedian, observational comedian. Do you know, I just saw, it was a few days ago, he's performing somewhere, I think it was in L.A., and all of a sudden, in the audience, he plucks out, hey, my friend in the audience, and brings him up on stage. It's frickin' Paul McCartney, the Beatle. Can you believe that? I mean, who's bigger than that? So that was kind of surprising when I saw that clip. Deon Cole attended Philander Smith University, just received an honorary doctorate. It's pretty huge honor to be bestowed on someone, an honorary doctorate, if you will. So how did this guy get into comedy? Obviously, he's pretty funny, but, what was the big break? What happened to, get him into, everybody's house, seeing, all these comedy specials? Average Joe on Netflix. Man, have you checked that out yet? The Russian Mafia? Deon plays the lead, Joe Washington and Average Joe. You got to check this out. Plus, all his comedy specials, like I said, who knows? How did this guy get here? What's his story? We're going to find out coming up next. Comedian Deon Cole is my guest this week on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
Hello, Deon.
Hey, what's going on?
Should I call you Dr. Deon Cole?
Yes, you should.
Now, that's pretty. That's a pretty cool honor that you got an honorary doctorate from your alma mater. What did you go to school to study? What were you studying in school, Deon?
I was doing psychology. I was a psych major.
So what did you think you were going to do when you graduated? What kind of job did you think you were going to have?
I didn't know. I thought I was going to be a magician.
Well, I'm glad you're not, because for some reasons magicians creep me out. Like some people get creeped out by clowns. Magicians do that to me, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the eye contact. You know what I mean? Oh man, so how did you get into this crazy business of comedy? Is your parents funny? Did you have it in your blood?
Oh no, it was none of that. Definitely none of that. It was just a friend of mine bet me to go on stage, man. My friends always looked at me for thinking differently about things, so. Yeah, he just was like, I dare you to go on stage, and he bet me like $50, and I went on and never looked back.
Wow. And that's, growing up in Chicago, to go up on an open mic night or whatever it was that you went up first time, it'd be pretty scary, because those people, they're not very forgiving if you're not funny, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Chicago's a tough crowd, man, definitely. So you got to know what you're doing.
So you got up on stage as a bet for your friends, and that was the beginning of your comedy career. So like I was saying earlier, you went to college, you're studying psychology. You didn't know what the hell you were going to do. So how old were you?
Right.
How old were you when you did this, when you got up on stage?
22.
Okay. So you were like right in the beginning of the working world? What were you doing currently at the time that you got up on stage? What was your occupation?
I was working at this place called Leather Makers.
Leather
selling
makers.
leather coats.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I was selling leather coats.
Was that your first job out of college?
Yeah, that was my first job. Yeah, absolutely.
And what was your very first job? Period. What was your first gig ever?
Paid job was at McDonald's. I was working on fries.
Okay, are you sure? And that seems like a Kamala Harris lie. Just checking.
No, I'm for real. I took the job and only worked there for like 3 weeks because I only wanted enough money to buy like this Gucci belt.
Okay.
Then I quit.
So it only took
I wanted this belt so bad, man.
it only took 3 weeks though from working at McDonald's to get that Gucci belt. That's not
Yeah,
bad.
it took 3 weeks to get a belt.
Deon.
Sound like a good idea to me.
Deon, what did your parents do for work?
My mother worked at a currency exchange.
Oh wow.
And my father, he wasn't with us, but I think he like worked at a post office or something.
Okay. So you come from a family of regular people. Nobody in your family is in show business.
Yeah, no, I'm not a heir to anything. No show business, blue collar, very poor, lots of love.
So humble beginnings. Tell me a little bit about how, okay, you go up on stage, you do your comedy thing, and then you end up getting a job in the business. So tell me how a regular person goes about getting their first job in show business.
I think it's just it deals with just you as a person being resilient. Number one, loving what you do, knowing that letting that craft you have, that gift you have, take you away from whatever it is that you're doing. I would never suggest drop everything and go chase your dreams. I say let your dreams take you. Let your skills take you to your dreams.
Right.
You know.
So it was you joined the staff of The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien earlier on in your career, or was that kind of in the middle of your career?
That was towards the middle of my career. I was already doing stand up and making a very good, a decent living, doing stand up, and that was it. And then I did a couple films, like cameos in films. And when Conan came along, it was something I wasn't even really thinking about as far as writing for somebody or nothing. It was just more wow, okay. I did some writing for people before. A guy by the name of Ricky Smiley, I used to write for him. But
Yeah.
I was thinking Conan O'Brien, and yeah, that worked out very well for me.
Yeah, I'd say so. So what do you think? You look back on your whole career from from right now, where you've got a new Netflix special coming out, which I want to talk about. But from the time that you jumped on stage for a $50 bet to now, can you think of the time where kind of it all changed for you, like a big break, if you will? What was it?
Well, it's several big breaks, to be honest with you, that lead to where I am right now. I had showcases that were just as important as big TV shows. Without that showcase, I wouldn't have been in the eye of people who needed to see me. So, those showcases really meant a lot to show my skills, show what I can do. And then on a grand level, shows like Conan O'Brien or Angie Tribeca or Blackish or Grownish, that show people really what I can do, and Average Joe as well. You know, my show Average Joe that's on Netflix right now, just showing range and still doing movies like The Harder They Fall or You People with Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy and The Color Purple. You know, so yeah, just showing range, man, trying to do different stuff.
Now, when you bring up the film You People, I get goosebumps because it's so cringy at times. Like seeing Jonah Hill is the whitest Jewish guy, and and he's trying to like show people he's got flavor, but at the end of the day, he's just like a very, very white Jewish guy. Is it hard? Is it hard today to do that kind of stuff? Because at the end of the day, it's just comedy. You're supposed to make people laugh. But, people are weird today, and you got to be so careful. Are you careful with anything in your comedy nowadays?
I try to stay away from people like that and deal with the people that follow me, and that's it. And I try to let the people that follow me dictate how those people who don't like what I do, they regulate them. They tell them, hey, you don't need to be here. We paid money to hear him. We want to see him. If you don't want to be here, you get out of here. I have the people that follow me deal with those kind of people. It's not even me, because it's their money that they're spending and their babysitters that they're getting to come have a good time, to have one person come in there and they feelings about something that's being said or trying to take a stance on something. Yeah, but yeah, the people that come, my followers, man, the people that love what I do, they handle that. They handle those kind of people.
That's cool. When did it all change, Deon? Like, did you notice, was it around COVID where people started just getting super sensitive to everything? Like, when did it change?
I think it started changing when, around COVID, or really it changed when Black Lives Matter started happening, because it was like, people was like, oh, people are taking a stance on something. Well, we're going to take a stance on something. It was happening even before Black Lives Matter, but from what I saw, it really kicked in after Black Lives Matter, because it was just this whole cancel culture thing that was going on, and it was like, yo, all right already. It's like everybody was uptight about something, and it was like, relax, you know what I mean? It was like almost like black people couldn't protest without somebody else going, well, we're going to protest too, and it was like, it just led to this thing, and it was like, I don't know. That's just what I noticed, and I could be wrong. And if I am, I apologize, but that's what I know.
Yeah, you got to cover your back there. Absolutely. So
got to cover your back, man.
So tell me a little bit about your latest comedy special. Is it tough to do one of those specials? Because I notice that, when I'm a fan of comedy and I'll see a comedian and then their special comes on, Netflix, and it's kind of the same set. Now, is it like the set that you use like the year prior and then you put it out on the end so your people aren't constantly coming out to see you and saying, oh man, I just saw him perform that, on Netflix?
Yeah, so this is what I do. Like it takes me 2 years to write a special. 2 years. I just don't put out specials every year, because I feel as though that it takes me a long time to observe and craft this material, And so what I do is I spend a whole year observing things and writing things down, and then I organize it and put it in a way that everybody can relate to it, and I tour with it for like a year. And every comic does this. This is no different, from Chris Rock to Chappelle to everybody, John Mulaney. We all do the same thing, where we tour with it, and then after we tour with it, we shoot the special with it. And then we start all over again.
Who were some of the comedians when you were growing up that inspired you, that you kind of wanted to be like?
Man, I mean, the greats. I don't even. It's obvious. It's Red Fox and Richard Pryor and George Carlin, and it's all those people. But it also was like Ellen DeGeneres, and it also was Mitch Hepburn. It was Moms Mabley, Dick Gregory, Paul Mooney. There's a lot of people that made me think differently.
Okay, mister. It's the new comedy special on Netflix from Deon Cole. I always keep thinking of, hopefully you're not ending this interview with a whelp. I was just praying that wasn't going to happen. I thought this went fairly well, Deon.
No, this is a wonderful interview. Thank you so much for sharing your platform.
Thank you, pal. Take care, man.
All right, you too, brother.
I love this guy, Deon Cole. Very, very funny guy. Observational comedian, which, just kind of doesn't really have jokes. He in one of his stand-up specials, he says, I'm not like a slip on the banana peel, a pie in the face kind of guy. I look around, what's going on, and I comment on that. He's just really, really funny, down to earth, born in Chicago. I thought it was an interesting story about how he got started in comedy. And I mean, you could, his big break and all that good stuff. You could almost say that him going on stage because his friends bet him to go on stage, that was, the big break. I know he said that there were a lot of comedy showcases that he was involved in, and the right people saw him, and then, Blackish, when he got that role, that was kind of a big break for him. But, really, you turn it back to his friends busting his balls and saying, go up there, I'll give you $50 if you go up on stage at a, comedy club, open mic night, and try some comedy out. Do you know how tough that is to hear, no applause, nobody's laughing, very embarrassing. It's happened to me plenty of times. So takes balls to go out, especially in Chicago. Think about that crowd, right? So if you really think about it, $50 bet from some of his buddies to get up on stage and try to do comedy. That was a defining moment in Deon Cole's life. Okay, Mister, his new stand-up special on Netflix. I urge you to go check it out. Oh, by the way, his first job was at McDonald's. Very first job he took at Mickey D's, and he's not lying, by the way. He said it's a true story. But his first job at McDonald's, the only reason he worked there was to buy a Gucci belt. 3 weeks is 3 weeks is what it took him to save for that Gucci belt before he left McDonald's. And then, out of college, his first job was selling leather coats at some leather store. So anyway, very funny guy. I'm such a big fan of Deon Cole. And thank you so much for checking out the Celebrity Jobber podcast, streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please, I beg you, I don't want to beg and sound, desperate, but please, a 5-star rating would be great. Subscribe, leave a review. All the past episodes are on celebrityjobber.com. You can follow on Instagram, celebrityjobber_podcast, and youtube.com/the@celebrityjobber. So excited for next week's episode. The Ayatollah of rock and rolla, one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, the lead singer of the band Fozzy, Chris Jericho, coming up next week right here on Celebrity Jobber. Thanks so much for listening. See you next week. I'm Jeff Zito.